grateful to be in recovery.
And I'm Felice, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. Welcome to our wacky Wednesday ridiculous recovery meeting.
So it really is, I'm whacked and put a fork in it. I'm really done kind of Wednesday because there's been so much happening. So we wanted to touch base and kind of go over a couple of things. Firstly, I'm a compulsive, emotional overeater. I'm a food addict. I'm also a drug addict, and I am just an addict.
I'm an everything addict. So much easier to say. I'm an everything addict.
Yeah, I just like the effects that I get from certain stuff. So our big focus on...
Actually, we should say that we're everything addicts in recovery.
Exactly.
Okay, that's why we're here.
Right, and that's why we're here. And our focus really is the recovery. Even though what brought me in through the door is the food, I thought that it was about looking good and feeling good and dieting and getting to that perfect size in the perfect way.
Except that looking good didn't equal feeling good. And that's what we found out.
And also, I started working, I'd reached these certain plateaus. So I'd diet and everything would be fantastic. And I'd be losing weight and then I'd hit a plateau and then nothing changed, quite literally, nothing changed. And I would either stop the diet and start binging and purging, or alternatively, I would keep dieting, stick on a plateau, get really frustrated and really anxious and really mad.
Which, by the way, that chaos gives us reason to use. So,
and then I'd find other ways through either laxatives, purging, or really like boosting myself in another way. More like that. To be able to trigger that greater weight loss or try something even more extreme to beat myself up. So in terms of actual plateaus, you know, it's a weird thing. What is a real plateau in terms of weight loss if we had to just look at that for a second?
Well, physiologically, calories in minus calories burned is whether or not we lose or gain weight. And there's the dog. And there are some times where we're starving ourselves and our body will actually go into some starvation mode and it'll hold on to calories a little bit better. But in the end, it's going to be calories in minus calories burned. And if we actually, everybody's talking about plateauing right now, but when we actually look at it more medically, there's usually a pretty good explanation as to why we're plateauing. So either we have been taking in a lot less calories, and then we're taking in a lot less calories, and we've reached a certain weight, and we either need to take in less calories or we need to exercise more. And when we reach that plateau, what happens is when we're just talking about dieting and we reach that plateau, emotionally, thank you, Angeli, for bringing that up, emotionally we've reached some type of plateau as well. And as long as that's all we're paying attention to is the diet and the weight loss, again, that plateau gives us reason to be angry, which gives us reason to start chaos, which gives us reason to use.
So when I reach the plateau, I generally get the forkets. And the forket would be, okay,
these are our forks,
these
you guys.
are our forks for the evening, okay?
Fork that, man.
Exactly. So I'd get the forkets and I would just fall over the edge and I'd start either my binging escapades because why couldn't you stick to the diet, okay? Why isn't it working? And that would just be that total slide down into the demoralization and my serial dieting, that total routine of the dieting, the breaking the diet, the going back on the diet, the breaking the diet, the beating myself up. So those plateaus for me is a really dangerous place, especially if I focus on diet.
Right, because it doesn't have nothing to do with the diet. It has to do with the recovery. So I diet, I decrease my caloric intake, or I have surgery, or I throw up, or I poop, or I do whatever I'm doing, so that on the outside I look good. And on the inside I'm not changing. And it's all about the diet and it's not about recovery. So dieting and losing weight don't got nothing to do with recovery. When we actually have recovery, it allows us not to pick up. So it ain't about what we're eating, and it always gets back to this. It's about why we're eating what we're eating, why we're doing what we're doing.
So it's not the WTF Wednesdays, like where's the food Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. It's more about why we're doing what we're doing to ourselves, the same process and expecting different results. So then that seeking that perfect diet, whatever it happened to be, isn't really the root of the problem. The root of the problem is, why do we need to diet in the first place? Why do we need to go through that whole mental game of this is what I'm allowed to have or not allowed to have, and it becomes a whole mental challenge that for years and years and years, after 44 years of doing the same thing, it wasn't working. So the dieting for me is not the answer. The recovery for me is with a spiritual change, with something that is a little bit different, is something that works and resonates a little bit better for me.
So it's never about the food. It's never about the alcohol. It's never about the cocaine. It's never about the food. It's never about the substance. It's about us and why it is that we need to change the way that we're feeling by using food or any other kind of substance.
One thing is also, in terms of the food, there's those two components. It's that physical component of the cravings and the need to feed my addiction, which is triggered by certain things. So if I go down that element of being on a diet but still taking in my trigger foods, I'm still going to get the cravings, and I'm still going to get that effect, which is that twist in the mind that makes me want more and need more and continually craving the same substance.
Okay, so if we relate this to alcohol or Percocet, it's pretty simple to see. So I'm an alcoholic and I stopped drinking, but what is happening there? I don't really stop drinking. I just don't drink for a month, or I don't drink for 2 months, and then I take that first drink. And after I take that first drink, then comes the mental obsession and the physical craving. That's pretty much the definition of any type of addiction. And so we already know that we have something going on with the addiction, that there's no such thing as one for us, right? Because that first one is what starts that addictive process. So again, it's always going to be that it's not about the plateau and it's not about the dieting. It's about getting better. So can somebody take the dog? Somebody take the dog? About getting better spiritually, so that we're not doing the things that we're doing. We think with dieting that if we look better on the outside, we're going to feel better on the inside, and that's just not the way that it happens. So with Haiti, who isn't here, with Haiti, who lost 120 or 130 pounds from quote unquote dieting, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. You're 130 pounds thinner. You're killing me. How many years? No, I'm just kidding. She was 130 pounds thinner, but she didn't feel any better. And so what happens when you don't feel any better, eventually, is that you'll go back and do what it is that you're used to doing, whatever that default is, so that you could change the way that you feel. And that's basically what was going on. Hi, you guys.
Hi.
Nice to see you tonight.
Nice to see you too.
And so we're talking about having the forkets, and we're talking about plateauing, because everybody on the internet right now, everybody on Facebook or whatever, is talking about plateauing, where I get to that place where I've dieted, and now I'm at some place where I can't lose any more weight. And so we got back to that place where we said it's never about the diet and it ain't about the food, it's how we are and what we're doing to change the way that we feel. And so you did lose 130 pounds. And were you feeling better?
No.
You're
but
looking
I just wanted
better.
To, I'm looking fantastic.
Really
but
great.
the thing is, it's not about the looking, it's about the feeling, because on the inside, it's really feeling shit, and the outside really masks it. But the interesting thing with the whole dieting and plateauing thing, because tonight kind of illustrates it. So that striving for perfection, that need for absolute perfection. So if we have the perfect diet and we stick to it in the perfect way, we'll look a certain way and we'll feel a perfect way by the time we finish. So tonight we had all this chaos going on between the dog and the phone and everything else. We can't control the stuff around us sometimes. Sometimes
of course we can.
There's just the stuff around us. So no matter what is going on around us, going back to those same default behaviors doesn't always serve us well.
No, it never served us well.
Never.
Never served us well. Thank you for backing me up with that.
So today's been a lesson in acceptance for me. I mean, I spent probably close on 3 hours in traffic getting my son to summer camp and back from summer camp. And there's something about not being able to start the day without coffee for me.
Yeah.
Me too.
Welcome to another addiction.
Right. So I swapped all those for my coffee addiction. Okay. So that's the one I'm working through slowly. But as a different, so I've always told myself I'm a certain type of person until I have the coffee. But so the lesson for me today has been acceptance. So really it's been letting go of that stuff. Didn't rush to go get the coffee, just kind of went with the flow and didn't rush to.
Yeah, and that's actually a really important point. And so even when you did talk about your day starting out and you were late, because you were in so much traffic and there was so much going on, and really there ain't nothing you can do about it, right?
Right.
So you're stuck in traffic, and we could be pissed off and discontent because we're stuck in traffic. Or we could say, wow, we're stuck in traffic. Because you know what? No matter how pissed off we are or how happy we are to listen to our music, we're still stuck in traffic. So the way that we feel ain't changing what's happening out there.
So it actually led to a really interesting conversation with my 13-year-old was about things people say that are hurtful and the things that we take on. Because people say stuff that it could be about our weight, it could be about us, it could be about anything, and we internalize it instead of really maybe putting it into perspective that is about them more than it is about us. Has anyone ever said anything hurtful to you about your weight or things that someone said? Like, what are the examples that you faced?
One in particular would be, "You're not gonna eat that, are you?"
Which translates to you,
You're fat, so you shouldn't be eating that.
right, you're fat, which translates to you're not good enough.
Right.
Which
Right.
translates
You're
to, you
less
bet
than.
your sweet bippy I'm gonna eat it, fangu.
Right.
So, I mean, because there is that,
So we go,
you can't
"Oh,
tell me
oh."
what to do,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because it's, you take a defensive stand.
So let me ask you a question. Wouldn't it be awesome if when somebody's acting like an asshole, if we just were able to look at that person and say, well, that person's an asshole, and not take it personally,
Yeah, that'd be great.
right? Because what you say to me isn't about me, it's about you.
Right.
And our kids, by the way, never learn that. So kids get bullied, and there's this whole big thing about kids getting bullied, and what are we going to do about the stuff we can't control, which is the big bully, bullying the kid, as opposed to teaching the child that it isn't about them. And not to get upset and not to react, because then the bully's probably not going to be as happy to bully that kid. And so even when we're younger, we never learn that it's the way that we're looking at it, not actually the way that it's coming at us.
So we're talking about things that people have said that we internalize or take on, and we own it, even though it's coming out of their mouths with their perspective, with whatever happened in their day, and they could be having the worst day ever, and we just happen to be the fallout guy, or they're feeling bad about themselves, and we take it on. I mean, for me, one of the greatest lessons of being in recovery is that codependency is to start stepping away from it and not being as codependent and taking on everyone else's, because it's not healthy for me. I by nature am a nurturer. I like being a sensitive person, but not to my own detriment is what I'm learning. Whereas I thought before being sensitive and being compassionate was something that I had to not only feel for you, but I had to be for you as well, which was so unhealthy for me because it shifted something inside. So I'm learning to be compassionate without taking it on and just telling someone, do you know what, you're having a really rough day and I'm sorry that you're going through this, rather than taking it on
And feeling
being
like
the
you have to
reason
do
they haven't.
something active to fix it for them.
Oh
That's
my
also
God.
part of
Yeah,
it.
so
Like,
you know how they use that expression, physician heal thyself?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it ain't your responsibility to
Right.
fix anybody.
Right.
And sometimes it's easier for me to try to fix you so that I don't have, and that's what it always is, unless you have the degree and you're getting paid for it.
Right.
So, but otherwise it's about looking at somebody else and looking how you can help them so that you don't have to look at yourself.
The other
So-
thing that's tough is the person that will say things and they have no intention of hurting.
Really?
Those-
Like what?
That's a lot of times I think comes from the authority figures in your life, like when you're a kid and the parent. Because the year before I went into high school, I was as chubby as usual.
Mhm.
I told you guys my mother called me
Yeah.
chubette.
Yeah.
And so my mother said, you're going to go on a diet. You don't want to go into high school looking like this. So I got put on the diet that she created, and it was a meal replacement shake for breakfast, and it was a certain amount of tuna on a certain amount of bread with a certain
And
amount
she
of
had you dieting.
She had me dieting,
So that you would
and
look better to the outside world.
right, and I lost quite a bit of weight,
Sure
and
you
I
did.
grew, and all of these things, and I was sitting on the kitchen floor right before school was supposed to start. We had just gone and bought some new clothes, and she was very excited to buy this size for me, which, you know, all of that stuff, because she's a very small woman, like I said, cigarettes and circus peanuts. And I was sitting on the kitchen floor with my, you know, like this, and she said, now look at your leg. And so I looked, and she goes, if you lost 10 more pounds, that's what your legs would look like. And in that moment, I said to myself, it's never going to be enough.
Yeah, and that's
It's never
You know,
going to be enough.
yeah, and so Angela and I talk a lot about there are events that happen in our lives, and then there are the emotions that we attach to those events. And so how old were you when that happened?
13, 14, right
So,
before
so,
high
so it was more than 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah. It was
So it was a
10,000
while.
years ago.
No, I'm being smartest, but yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a long time ago, and still to this day, it hurts you. So my hope for you is at one point, you're going to be able to look back at that and say, you know what, my mom, you know, isn't there a thing in the Bible? I don't read the Bible, but forgive me for they know not what they do.
Right.
Did Jesus or somebody big say that?
And that's where that's what I'm working on now, is going, what were her intentions?
But
Instead of
listen,
hearing the
but
words,
her
it was the
intentions
emotion.
don't matter. Her intention, no, listen, you
got
can't
20.
change what her intentions were, and you can't change what was said.
Right.
So stop trying to change that stuff. What you can change is the way that you feel about it,
Okay.
the emotional attachment you have to something that's already gone, right? And so she said what she said, and she did what she did because she was the woman that she was. Do we want to hope that she was doing the best that she can? Yeah. You know, my mom was completely emotionally unavailable. Do I want to look at her as a woman who has probably had some major depressive issues, or do I want to look at it as I was a worthless piece of shit, which is how I grew up, feeling abandoned and unloved. So, but I don't feel like that anymore, because I get to look at her and say, okay, she did this, she did this, she did this because of where she was, not because of who I was. I was a little girl. And so you were a little girl, but you're still holding on to the emotion that's attached to something that she said 100,000 years ago.
And what are the tools to release that then?
Let me ask you a question. When you make a mistake, and it's an honest mistake, and then you do your best, hopefully you forgive yourself, right? We don't forgive. If you come in here and you call me an F and B or whatever, and you know, you start screaming at me and whatever, if I decide to forgive you, I don't forgive you because it's good for you. I forgive you because it's good for me. Because as long as I'm walking around with resentment and anger, which is all fear, right? As long as I'm walking around in that fear that I'm not good enough, I'm the only person that it's hurting. So there comes a time where you say, hey, you know what? My mom, whatever she did or she didn't do, she probably did her best. I bet she didn't mean to hurt me, and I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to learn from it. So
I
I'm
guess
gonna
that's
make-
what I'm saying when I say her intentions, because I've gotten to
Yeah,
that
no,
point.
absolutely, and I'm
where she-
agreeing with you.
Yeah, where it
I'm-
wasn't about
so
trying
let
to
go of the
hurt
feeling.
me at all.
So let go of the feeling
Okay.
because you're not 13 years old,
No.
right? And it's not up to somebody else to tell you how you feel or tell you whether or not you're good enough. That's about you.
Okay.
That's on us. You know, in the movie When a Man Loves a Woman, at the end of the movie, where she said, you know, and he made me feel so, and I said that I was mean to him, and I said that he made me feel so small, and she says, but nobody could do that to us, man. We do that to ourselves. When we're a child, it's different.
Yeah.
As an adult, we get to look at it the way we get to look at it. If you want to look at her as a woman who did the best that she could do and forgive her and let it go, it allows you to grow as a woman in recovery. Also teaches you, this is what I heard, this is how I saw it, I'm going to make sure. Do you know that not once did I ever tell my kids they were bad?
Yeah, I work very hard with that.
Not
so
once.
I'm really
I would always
careful
say,
with that
you know
with
what?
my kids.
I know that you're a good boy, so I know you don't have to do that. Or I know that you're a good boy, so we're going to do that differently next
Right.
time. No matter how mad I was.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lesson that I learned, because whatever happened that was bad, I turned around to something, and again, whenever we talk about this stuff and I say it sounds so easy, I've probably literally had about $250,000 worth of shrinking right here. So this is an expensive brain.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Let it go, man. Don't serve you.
I don't feel like it eats at me. It's a
But it does.
memory.
But it
It's
does.
a memory that when we're like in this moment where it was who has said something to you. That's the memory that comes up. It's not something that I dwell on, that I think about every
I
moment,
got
and
it.
it's certainly not something
I got it.
that I have then transferred onto my children, because with my children, like I have a daughter who, you know, I have one that's super willowy thin, and I have a couple that are, I say buttery, and like they're beautiful, they're perfect, and I tell them, you make your choices and eat healthfully,
But-
and your body will be what it is, like whatever shape that
Okay,
is.
and that's great. When you talk about it, and I'm going to ask the group, when you talk about it, what your mom said for me, I still see pain on your face.
okay. Well, and I would believe that because I'm not looking at
Yeah.
me.
So I still.
It doesn't
I
well
still
me
see
up
that
though. Like
pain.
it's not
okay.
so, but it is. I will consider, because the thing that I tell my children is, if you make a mistake in life, and then you've learned from it, the mistake is gone and the lesson is there.
Exactly, and so.
So that's
look at
I
this
need
the
to
same
apply that
way.
to
Yeah,
myself
yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit. Okay.
Yeah, so you've
I get
learned
that.
well, and now you have to heal yourself.
Yeah.
So
Thank
when we
you.
started recovery, it was when I started recovery in the process, for me it was a real big eye-opener, because I had these ideas of perfection. I'm like this perfectionist in my heart, that the way that I grew up and the way that I raised my kids are two very different ways, but I always thought I'd have these perfect kids, and we had this conversation once, these perfect kids, and it was a conversation that when we had the school play, they'd be the ones dressed in the perfect outfits, standing up front, performing 100%. My kids were the ones climbing the curtain in the back, running off the stage. My kids were like these ones that were just never this picture in my head of what the kids should have been. And I always go, I wish they arrived with that guide, like that how-to guide stapled to their forehead when they were first born. It would have been so much easier to be able to work them out. So for whatever it is, with all my imperfections, and with whatever those things are that make them the beautiful people that they are, and the different people and the guys that they are, and they are really, I wanted the out-of-the-box thinkers, that I got exactly what that is. But being the mother to this, for sometimes it was challenging, because my perspective was so warped of what I thought it needed to be. And it's been a journey for me to really appreciate them for these amazing guys that they are. And I'm sorry that I missed out some of the stuff that I did. And it was a conversation I had to have with my oldest son as well, that I said to him, I'm really sorry that I put you under the pressure that I did by the things that I expected, because you're perfect just the way that you are, and I'm sorry if I made you feel bad.
And that you could say to your child.
Yes.
And it's learning how to say that to yourself.
Right.
That heals us.
We are our worst critics.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm
of
still a
course.
mom. So as a mom, we do the best that we really do. So either it works, or we just give them loads of material for therapy when they are.
I forget about the college fund. It's the therapy fund. It's
There's
really
been more than
important.
once that I've said to my kids, there's been a thing, and I go, and you can say that on the couch in 15
Right,
seconds.
exactly.
Like, whatever, you know, I'm
Yeah.
doing the best I can.
Yeah. And so the stuff that people say about us is hurtful because we believe it, right? So there's a book that we've all read, of course, called The 4 Agreements, and one of the 4 agreements is don't take it personally. And don't take it personally, and we talk about it because whatever you say or whatever you do, it don't have nothing to do with me, right? The only thing that has to do with me is my perspective and my own actions. I show up and I do my best. How you guys show up is up to you. If you're mean to me, it's because you're having a really bad day probably, or because you can't get over the things that happened when you were little, or because the next door neighbor pissed you off or whatever. But if you're being mean to me, that's about you, because you feel like being mean. That's just about you. So you being mean to me doesn't mean that I need to believe when you call me a bitch. You're such a bitch, and I can't believe you said this and you did this. Okay. In recovery, especially in treatment, they say when you're really angry with somebody, or you feel whatever, somebody wrongs you, pray for them. And I used to say, you know what, I'm gonna pray that they get hit by a truck. That's what I'm gonna pray. I'm not kidding. I said it out loud like so many times. But when I realized what that means, and I use the word hope instead of the word pray. So, but if you hope for them that they get better and that they feel well, because if they feel well, when they show up next week or next month or next year, whatever, everything around them, the energy is gonna be so much nicer, right? So it's gonna be nicer to be around them. So just wish them the best. So remember, you can't hurt me. Only I can hurt me. That's one of the biggest lessons to learn in recovery. That's acceptance, right? And again, that the only thing that we're in control of are our own perspectives and our own actions.
And also part of that is that shift of giving other people that control in our lives turns us into a victim.
Yeah.
So for them to be able to have those reactions and us take it on, all of a sudden it shifts a certain dynamic that we become victims and makes us powerless in a sense.
Right, and as soon as we take on that role as the victim, when we do that, and I've said this 100 times, pour me a drink. As soon as we make ourselves that victim where we feel like there's absolutely nothing that I can do I'm an adult now, there's absolutely nothing that I can do, poor me, this is where I am, this is what happened to me, I let myself be submissive, I let myself have your opinions instead of my own opinions. It creates a lot of unrest and a lot of chaos inside of me, and what a better reason to use than that unrest, pitiful, pathetic, victimized, chaotic self that I am.
So for
It's
me,
a perfect setup for using.
So for me, it generally plays out that I spend the day rushing. So I hit the ground running, I'm schlepping this one, I'm dropping this one, I'm picking this up, I'm juggling clients, I turn around, it's 4 o'clock, I'm in Publix, I'm picking up dinner because I haven't made dinner and it has to be the perfect, well-balanced meal for the family. And that's when I start grabbing stuff from the side of where the register is. So as I'm checking out, I'm going, I don't need lunch, maybe just a bag of chips, or maybe this, and maybe a little thing of Mentos, or whatever, you know, I mean, it's only a little
We
thing.
call those excuses to
And
use,
those
by the way.
become my best excuses to use. And not only that, I'm thinking, I'm so exhausted, you know, I can't believe that I actually did this and this asshole took my post on Facebook.
Oh my gosh, you had a really big challenge with this today.
I did, I have a real challenge with this guy, okay? I just had a
You don't
really
have a challenge
crazy
with this guy, yeah.
Yeah,
You don't even know the dude.
I don't even know the dude. Okay? All I
Some
know
really
is that a
weird
guy,
guy.
I know, he just really, I decided to
Got under
take
your
back
skin.
all. Yeah, no, actually it wasn't him, it was me. But it was
Of course
just
it's
that
you.
outlet that I was
Of course
able
it's
to
you.
say, what the fuck, okay, is he doing, okay? And take it out on him, where it's really, I start feeling, isn't my post good enough? Why didn't I do it perfectly? Did I say something to offend him?
And let
then
me
I
go ahead and go on Facebook and rant about it so that I can prove to you guys how awesome I am. So that there's no way that he should have taken down my post. Who gives a shit if he took down your
Exactly.
post?
Exactly.
Exactly.
But that perfectionism requires a lot of validation.
It
And
requires
I
a
think
lot of
perfection
energy.
is
part of it.
First of all.
Yeah,
Being
yeah.
a perfectionist is really
I'm
trying
not
to be
one,
in
so I don't
control.
understand
It's
it.
all about control.
It's
Everything
about,
you describe
excuse
now.
me, it's about control and ego. So what's the definition of ego? Ego is what I think your opinion of me is. Right? And so when I make your opinion of me more important than my own opinion of me, right? That's control. So I'm going to try to control everything that I can. I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to let you see how great I am. I'm going to tell you about everything that I did today. I'm going to let you know how my kids are dressed nicer than yours. I'm going to make sure that I look perfect, that I present perfect, that because your opinion of me is more important than my own opinion of me. And you guys, that's ego. And so we walk around in ego when we feel like shit or absolutely nothing about ourselves. And we feel completely empty. And what do when we feel completely empty? We fill ourselves up with whatever that is, whatever the drug of choice for the day is, whether it's Oreos or mashed potatoes or peanuts or alcohol or benzos or cocaine or whatever it is. We do our best to fill up that emptiness with something that'll change our brain chemistry so that we don't have to feel bad. Instead of learning how not to feel bad.
Using is such a good salve for the chaos.
It's such a good what?
Salve, like it soothes
For
the
how long?
chaos.
It's
Exactly.
Yeah.
not long enough to make it worthwhile. But like in that moment, it's so hard because that fillet of fish soothes the chaos.
Okay. It soothes the chaos. Now tell me what happens a half hour after you've soothed your chaos. How do you feel?
Well, the car still stinks
How
like
do
French
you
fries.
how do you feel?
You know, I crap, of course. Crap,
Okay,
like,
and
that's
don't
it.
talk anymore.
Yeah, that's
so,
it.
I feel like crap, of course. So, I feel horrible and empty. I think that I'll do something so I could feel like crap after.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
It's-
We're
it's
crazy
not-
people,
And,
man.
and you know, and
We're
the,
crazy.
and the crazy thing is, so we do that, we feel like crap and we still feel the same. So we
Well,
go
then we
and-
feel worse.
Well, we feel worse.
Right.
I mean, we haven't dealt with those feelings. So what's eating us at the end of the day hasn't been dealt with. We just stuff it down, and guess what? I eat that fillet of fish. I come home. My husband goes, "Can you do this?" And I go, blah, 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 blah. And then the kids come past, and I go clean up your room, or whatever the story is. And that little fillet of fish had little fishes, okay, and it comes up in other ways. Okay?
That's exactly right. And then you've created all that chaos for yourself again so that you can have the effort, so you could have the fork you and go eat whatever. No, eat it. And then eat whatever you want to do. So that's playing into or feeding into the chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's feeding into the chaos. We have to write that one down. Make sure nobody takes it off her wall.
Copyright it immediately.
Well, the funny thing is, I mean, sorry, and I know Peanut Butter wants to say something. So this has become, we're coming back to you. I'm still codependent. So the dealing with recovery and food addiction is something that has started so much conversation around us, and so many people are picking up on this, and it's awesome that there's this awareness that's building
really
and being grown. 2.5 years ago when we started these conversations, there weren't many people talking about what's eating you and, you know, the why wait for recovery in terms of that perspective. People were talking about anorexia and bulimia, but not on the being the overweight and the dealing with obesity and really dealing with eating our emotions on this level. So it's great to see that there's a shift in the paradigm, that people are really starting to look at having a different perspective. And I just had to share
It's
that,
being
'cause-
validated
and-
more. You know,
Right.
As an addiction
As
that
an
you guys
addiction.
can respect. You know,
Right.
we talk about that too. I let everybody knows I'm in recovery. I respect the shit out of my addiction, you guys. My addiction is real. It's 24/7. It's real. It's always there. And so I can talk about my recovery openly because that's me talking about whatever. You know, it's talking about a part of me that I've learned to accept and respect. I respect that addiction because the second that I don't, I'm using. And so I can talk about it and be out about it where we say the word obesity. We whisper obesity. People say, oh, my mom's really heavy. I'm like, really? What's her BMI really heavy? Like, is she 5 pounds overweight really heavy, or is she 150 pounds overweight and she's obese? Now, we have a challenge saying that. We don't have a challenge pointing the finger at the friggin' junkie over there. That we don't got a problem with. It's amazing because we still judge that junkie as having a different problem than we do as food addicts. So you know what? That junkie actually is better off because that junkie can get clean and say, hey, I was a junkie and now I'm clean and I'm in recovery and I own that. And you guys are still talking about diets.
And that's an interesting thing.
No, it's the truth.
It's
No, it
true,
is.
because we've got diabetes. Our diabetes is killing us. Our heart issues are killing us. Our
high blood pressure.
high blood pressure. We talk about all the symptoms instead of really dealing with the real issue. I mean,
I have to tell you something. So when I was in the midst and I was drinking, I was drinking. And I would go to the doctor because I was shaking. So I went to see the neurologist because I had a tremor. I had a tremor because I had the F and DTs, man, during the day when I wasn't drinking. You know, I had high blood pressure. Well, of course I did. I had rebound hypertension because I was an alcoholic. So yeah, that's great. So let's talk about the tremor and talk about the hypertension and talk about the diabetes and talk about the heart disease and talk about the fatty liver and not talk about the problem, which
the symptoms.
isn't what you're eating, it's your addiction.
exactly. And so then what we do is we make ourselves sick so that we can eat some more. So we make ourselves more sick, and then we go get another addiction, which is getting addicted to the pills that we've been put on because we were fat.
Yay!
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, that my mom was like, if there is such a word as being perfect, but she was always, we never had to, God forbid, we'd have braces or anything, we had to, you know, we were like, had to be, and because you spoke, which I still like you, but it's like, I don't know what it did to me, but I don't know why it just hit me like that, because I was thinking like, whenever I would lose some weight, I would say, so like, you know, she always wanted me to be thin, like always, because my sister's pretty thin, and my brother, you know what I'm saying? And I'd say, do I look thin? She'd say, let me see, turn around. And like, but she's the most loving woman, like, she loved me so much.
She just didn't know any better.
Like, today's her birthday and stuff.
Happy birthday, Mom.
So like, I want to eat, and I want to like, and I just ate something bad, but like, it's not about that, but like, she was like, she did everything for me in my life, like right now, like I wouldn't have my house or anything if it wasn't for my mom. But like one time I was at the pool, and I was in her pool with my boyfriend not too long ago before she passed away, and she said, turn around, because of my fat ass, like she didn't want him to see it. She said, turn around, and I did, but for the first time in my life, even though she wasn't so well, I said, Mom, like I knew that, I said, Mom, that wasn't nice what you said to me. For the first time I spoke up, and she's like, I didn't mean that. Like she didn't know, she
Exactly.
mean it. She didn't mean it, but like, I don't know, but today I don't feel like, just thanks a lot, but you know, I
Sorry. No, not sorry. Obviously, this is what you need to talk about, though, so I'm not
you know,
sorry.
Yeah, and you know what, too, first of all,
But I
you
feel
talked-
for you. I do.
Yeah, we all do. And the thing is that first of all, you talked about a mom, and your mom died, and it's her birthday. So yeah, you're gonna have feelings just because of that, and it's even okay to just have those feelings that, shit, I miss my mom, right? It's your mom's birthday, you miss your mom. So let's appreciate the fact that you miss your mom. Your mom died, man, like that's a fact, that sucks. And grieving isn't an event, it's a process. And so it's okay that you're processing that. And so my hope for you is when you are processing something in the future that's painful, instead of picking something up, is to realize, shit, you know what? I miss my mom today. Like, I miss my mom. And that makes me feel sad. And right now it's okay that I feel sad because I'm a human being. And instead of doing something to hurt myself, I'm going to go ahead and reach out to one of my friends and say, shit, you know, it's my mom's birthday and I miss my mom.
I'm still not skinny, like I'm still not thin.
But listen, listen. But you being skinny or not skinny isn't what matters. You're unhappy.
What mattered to her?
Listen to me. Your mom is your mom. This is about you right here.
Yeah.
And what you are isn't fat or thin. You're hurting and you're unhappy. And so until you deal with that, I'm hurting, I'm scared, I'm unhappy, I'm discontent, that's what you need to deal with, not the fact that you're skinny or fat, right? That's just an end result of whatever's happening here, okay? So I want you to think about that a little bit. And so getting well in recovery is learning how to feel better. Are you going to go through?
She wanted me to be, though.
But you know what? It's whatever. I'm sure my mom wanted me to be a billionaire, but I'm not.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, so that is what it is,
Right.
and that's not about how. Yeah, do we have all of this stuff going on with the attachments that we had to what they said and what they did and what? Yeah, we do.
Right.
That's the way that we looked at the world, but now we're grown-ups.
Right.
And so now it's time to take a stand and say, hey, I'm this age. I looked at the world in a certain way, but now I'm realizing I don't need to look at the world like that, right? I could go ahead and fix what is eating me so that I don't reach out for food or drugs or pot or whatever it is to make myself, and you know what, you guys? It's okay to just effing feel. It's okay to feel bad. Feelings aren't facts. It's okay to cry. It's okay to fall down. It's okay to have those feelings. Nobody died for missing their mom, right? So we don't have to cover up that I'm missing my mom and I'm feeling bad right now. We could go with that. You know, as addicts, we don't want to feel nothing. Anytime we feel happy, sad, Any type of emotion, we want to change it. We've been changing the way that we feel for so long that half the time we don't know if how we're feeling is even a feeling, or what it means, or what we're supposed to do with it. And so in the beginning of recovery, it's about feeling and being sad and crying and being happy and maybe being a little bit crazy, and learning not to pick up and learning to work through it with some type of recovery. Learning to have the, like for us, we made this Why Wait for Recovery community, right? Learning to do what you need to do. You know, people go to therapists, people go to classes, people read books, right? Recovery is recovery, man. Once you decide that you're an addict, you need to decide that you're going to do what you need to do. Or my hope for you, actually, because you don't need to do nothing. My hope for you is that you'll decide that you're going to do what you need to do to get some recovery. Because it's a whole lot easier to be able to say, wow, today I'm sad and I'm crying, and I know that it's just a feeling. And I know that I'm not going to die from it, and I'm going to share it with somebody, and really, the sun's still going to come out tomorrow. And I'm sorry that you're feeling sad. I really am. And respect to your mom. Happy birthday, Mom.
She did a good job.
So can I jump in here? Okay, because you know I've got to jump in. So the interesting, so one of the things as a mom is I want my kids to be happy, and I always believe that I'm as happy as my most miserable kid. I mean, if any of my kids aren't happy, I'm unhappy. It's just like one of those
That's a
things.
lot of pressure. Wow.
Wow.
That was a whole lot of codependency happening right here.
I was a codependent addict. You got to understand.
Wow.
This has taken a lot
They
of
write
work.
books about
Codependency
that.
is always going to
I
be
just own
doesn't
it.
it?
I mean, I've been through those stages that I've driven myself crazy because my kids, and they do, they're playing me like a pinball machine. It's just one of those things. They
And
know
that's
how to do
something
it.
that we're working on in recovery, right?
And I own
Let's
it.
put
and
that
I know
out
it.
there.
Right.
And something that you're going to work on.
But the bottom line is,
Good. I just wanted you to say that.
Are you working on it?
So one thing is that I want my kids to be happy. So the big thing is I just really want them to be happy. At the end of the day, no matter how things play out, I just want them to be happy. And we have different choices of how that day looks. So when I'm finding I'm feeling sad because of something, I try to do something to honor that event, whatever it is, rather than making myself feel worse about it. So sometimes doing an act of kindness or something else in honor of something. There's a tradition that we do. There's a Jewish tradition that when it's a birthday or an anniversary or yortzeit or something, we do something to honor that person, whatever that looks like.
Plant a tree or
Plant a
put your
tree,
hand
give a
out
donation,
or-
whatever it is. Now open a door for
No,
someone.
we did something.
Right, so
Cool, very cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Part of what I'm hearing in light of what I said and what Peanut Butter said is, and you saying that you're as happy as your most miserable child is, I think that, and I would only ever speak for myself, I think that my mother was saying the things that she said to me because her perception was that I would be happier
Exactly.
if I was what she thought would make me happy.
because that's what she was
But we
taught.
always do it as parents.
But-
we always
But
do.
no, we
you're
don't
right.
always, because I don't do that to my
I don't
kids.
do that
I
to my
don't.
kids
I
either.
No,
don't
you don't do
perceive
that, but you,
what
always,
I.
but you always do something that you think, you try to lead them in a direction that you would think they will be happier. It doesn't have to do only with diet, it's everything. We always try to recommend that they go to specific schools or choose a college, a subject in college or
I
something.
don't know. I'm a little bit.
Go with the right friends.
I'm
It's-
a
we
little
always
bit more.
direct
I'm
them.
a little bit more attuned to letting my kids kind of find their way on those things. They have really good natural instincts about it, and I trust them.
Yeah, I don't trust
But
5 or
for
6 or
me,
10-year-olds.
there's the kid.
Instincts.
What I'm hearing and what I am starting to feel about how this situation is, she was doing what she thought would make me a happier person. If
Right.
you lose this
That's
weight,
true.
it will make you happy. It wasn't even about her not thinking it wasn't enough. It was she thought that I would be
Exactly.
happier if I was thinner.
Exactly. So
She didn't realize that I didn't need to be thinner to
Right.
be happier.
Right. She
Right.
she certainly didn't realize that you
Your
needed to
mother's
be
the same. She
that-
didn't realize you didn't need to be thinner to be happier.
right. You needed to be happier to be thinner. First of all,
Boom.
and
Yeah.
right, because then you wouldn't have been picking up what you were picking
Yeah.
up.
Exactly.
But yeah, your mom did the best she could with what she had.
Absolutely.
End of
And
discussion.
I've always said that
And
because it was
she's
hard.
learned
It
that.
was just me and her for years, and it was tough.
You know,
yeah.
I'm a lot older than you are. So when we were growing up, you know, kids were seen and not heard. Yeah. You know, children should be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
Right? Right? All of those things. So we were supposed to be clean, be polite, right? Look a
Be
certain
quiet.
way, but be quiet, right? But that's what they were taught,
Right,
and that's what
right,
their parents
right.
were taught. And so it's up to us to break that cycle, but also to forgive them so that we could feel better.
Yeah. I really don't feel animosity about it, but I do.
Good.
Like all of a sudden, I have a different understanding of it. So thank you for talking about what you talked about because it helped kind of change
Your perspective.
my understanding of that whole thing. Because
Showing up and doing the best that you can
Yeah.
do.
And now I realize if I'm just saying, if I was really thin, she would rather me be like this and be healthy as a mom, like you always say, that wasn't what was in, that she would rather me be healthy in my mind, I'm saying, rather than being thin.
Right, but
she
our
didn't.
parents didn't grow up feeling that they wanted their kids to be happy. They wanted their kids to be successful, which meant financially, and they wanted them to look good on the outside. That was pretty much sort of what it was.
Because what
Yeah.
everybody saw,
But everybody
was
else
a
saw was a
reflection
direct reflection
of them.
Of them.
Exactly.
That's
Right?
right.
That's exactly correct.
And you know, you guys were talking about like kids coming with a manual, and I always said, you know, my mom, when I was little and I was bad often.
What does that mean you were bad?
I did things I wasn't supposed to do.
You acted out and
I
or made mistakes.
Right.
Okay, let's put a label on like
Okay.
I acted out and made mistakes.
I acted out.
Okay, you were bad.
So
Okay.
I got hit a lot.
No, that's
and
comforting.
well, I know what like everybody's initial reaction is like, oh God, you know, and I got the belt and I got the shoe and I got the broomstick and just
I'm sorry.
You got the whole closet thrown at you.
But then, you know, I always forgave my mom for that because I knew how she was raised,
Yeah.
and it was horrible. And I know now as an adult, it was so horrible that she attempted suicide twice. So I always just forgave her for that because I don't blame her because she
Okay.
didn't know any better.
Right.
And now she does.
Okay.
And I know that if she had the different tools and if she was raised differently, she would have never done that to me. She only did that to me when she would be angry because I did something I wasn't supposed to be
And
doing.
that's what she was taught, so
And
that's what
that's
she
what
did.
she was taught.
That's what she did.
And it's funny because I've tried to convey that message, for example, to my husband, where I feel he had very loving parents, and you know, he's got his own childhood issues and whatnot, especially with his father. And I would say to him time and time again, it's like, you know what, they did the best that they could with what they had because this is how they were raised and this is what their parents were like and so on and so forth. And he doesn't get it. And I don't know
Okay.
how to.
Yeah, how you what? How you're gonna fix him?
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me you don't know how to fix him? Let's fight right now. Bring it. Like, bring it.
I'm on your side.
Yeah,
We'll take her
exactly.
down.
You can't fix him.
Oh, I know that now.
Well, right.
It took me a decade to figure that out.
So he will learn or not learn in his time. Again, in a relationship, you show up, you do the best to do your best. That's it, man. You ain't gonna change the way that he feels, or change the way that he looks at his parents, or change the way that he looks at his past, or change whether or not he's pissed off at what happened. It ain't your business. It's not your problem to fix. He is not your problem to fix. He's a human being having a human experience. Now, do we set boundaries with those people? If he's upset and discontent and pissed off and he comes home and pisses all over the floor and screams at you and does whatever it is that he does or did, is that acceptable? That's up to you. You're a grown-up. So you make boundaries about that. Right?
But you're not even going to help him develop understanding.
No.
He's got to do all of that on his
No,
own.
you do the best that you can. You do your best to do your best. The universe turns the way that it does.
Yeah, and I feel like coming and talking to you guys has almost given me a voice, where before I would just try to fix it because in my own way, and then when you said, you know, who do you think you are, God? Like, you know, what makes you think you're gonna change and fix him, you know? And all of a sudden it just kind of made sense, and I was able to basically tell him, like, fix your own shit. I feel bad for you, but you gotta fix your own shit.
Because here's the thing, I think if Haiti and I are friends and she's unhappy, and I can make her happy, that will make me happy. That's crazy. So it doesn't work like that. If Haiti's happy, she's happy. She's my friend. If she's happy, she's happy. If she's unhappy, she's happy. I can't fix her, and I certainly can't depend on her for my own moods. And so your beginning thought process is, well, if I could fix him, and if he could be happier, and if he's not pissed off at his parents, then he's gonna come home, and he's gonna be all happy, and he's gonna bring me flowers, because he's gonna be just so happy with his life, and so he's gonna be so nice to me, so I can feel better. And there's a reason why you're crying right now. And I'm sorry, this is our turn here.
Thank you.
Yeah, big tissue time here, you guys. I'm sorry, I'm sorry that this hurts you, but this is the reality of life. Him feeling better will not make you feel better. The only thing that's gonna make you feel better is you feeling better, drawing a line in the sand, deciding what's acceptable and unacceptable in the relationship that you have, and moving forward toward your goal. Yeah. Him getting happy don't take away anything that
And
happened.
if he comes along and does the work, great. And if he doesn't, that's
Right, that's
not
on him.
you. It's not
And
That's on him.
And it doesn't mean to say you've got to make decisions today about this
Of course
relationship.
not.
All it means is you're making a decision to have a better day tomorrow for you,
For yourself.
for yourself. So
Right.
if you are happier tomorrow, the day's just a better day. Whatever
For
he's
you.
gonna do, he's gonna do. But at least you might as well enjoy your day tomorrow.
And then you'll decide tomorrow, or the next tomorrow, the next tomorrow, the next tomorrow, the next tomorrow, what's okay and what's not okay.
I thought I could fix everything. I thought I was so in
She
control
still
of
tries to
everything.
fix
I
me
still
all
try.
day
I
long.
still do.
She fixes
I
me
send her
all
home
the
with
time.
dinner on a Wednesday night. I fix her dinner. I feed the kids in camp. I mean, I'm this crazy person. But the thing is, I thought I could fix my husband, fix the kids. You know, I was doing all this stuff, and I was so busy and fixing everything else. All I was doing was I was really busy and exhausted at the end of the day, and I was empty.
Right, and
This
what
is
are
a
you fixing them-
distraction.
I was
You were
empty.
just distracted
I was
with everyone
distracted.
else's stuff, so you don't pay attention to
Very
yourself. So you
good,
don't
that's
deal
correct,
with your own
that's
shit.
correct, that's correct.
And it's
Yeah.
so much easier being in control of everyone else
Yeah.
Which
than
you're
to
not in control
actually
of.
stop
It's not easy, but
and
it's
tap
easy to
into
try.
what we
Right,
feel.
right.
Because I was the same kind of kid. My mother's shoes could turn corners, and she wore these high heels, these stilettos. My sister and I used to joke that my mother could throw the shoe, and no matter where you ran, it followed you. So I was the one that was beaten as well. That was the way that we were brought up. So there was always this paradigm of good and bad and being better. So I'm very, very competitive. I'm exceptionally, it's one of my issues, but also it was a long time. I apologize to walls when I walk into them. I'm sorry. I bumped something, I'm sorry. I mean, it's just like this inherent thing of
She
it.
actually really does, by the way. That's
Right.
it.
So
That's the
it's
truth.
just now we've got this thing that instead of apologizing, I've got to go, I'm awesome. So part of that is shifting, being able to turn around and go, I've lived a certain way for so many years, I want to carry on doing this for the rest of my life.
Right.
So at which stage do we start shifting that? Because being happy takes as much energy as being sad.
Actually, it's a lot easier because being happy, you know, when I let go of control of all of the things that I don't have control over, it makes it a lot easier for me to be happy. Trying to stay in control of everything that I can't control just makes me effing nuts,
That's
man.
impossible.
Yeah.
So what happened is I stepped out of certain things. I've stepped out of my kids. I'm still here for them. I'm still part of their lives. They want me. I'm always there. I'm the first call they make. I'm the last call they make. But I'm letting things be in certain ways. The same with my husband. Whatever he's going to do, he's going through his own stuff. My primary focus, and I've told them, my primary focus at the moment is me. You know, I'm a lot nicer to be around. I'm a lot happier to be around, and they enjoy being around me. And the weird thing is, it's shifting them as well. they're treating me differently and they're responding to me differently. So there's certain lessons in being able just to let go, because sometimes letting go is the hardest part of the whole process.
And you know, and when you talk about letting go and changing your reality at home with your kids, we're not talking about you not taking care of your kids. You still take care of your kids, and she's still
And
making
I'm
them
still
dinner.
married
She's still
to-
loving them, and she's still
Right, of
nurturing them.
course.
And so sometimes it sounds like when we say it almost like selfishly, like, well, I'm the only one that's important. The thing is that the energy around you is only going to be wonderful when you feel wonderful.
Right, and it's opening me up to other things. So instead of judging what they're doing, which comes with the control element, is that
course.
constant judging, and now can step into another role, which is being compassionate, which is being joyful, which is being fun to be around. And the other stuff, we deal with it as it comes up. And the same with my husband. Instead of me watching everything that he's doing, which is what I was doing before, is I was judging everything. I'm like Miss Judgy ego here. By letting that go, all of a sudden, he's going to do whatever he's going to do, but at least I can enjoy the time that I'm enjoying with him. If he wants to enjoy it, perfectly, but I can still enjoy it. I can still laugh. I can still do things that I want to do. Occasionally, I just got to walk out and let the chaos be whatever the chaos is and walk back in later, because chaos isn't always good for me. But now I've got certain boundaries, so I can turn around and go, do you know what? I get it, I understand. I can't deal with this now. You need to work it out on your own. Let's discuss it later when you want to have a rational conversation about it. But at this stage, I'm going to go do something else. And I feel what you're saying, but I can't always get caught up in that constant. Sometimes I just need space to process.
Right, and again, it's most about understanding that I'm in control of the way that I look at things, and I'm in control of the way that I do things, but I'm never in control of the way that you look at things. And no matter how good I try to be, it ain't gonna make you happy with me. If you're a happy person, you're gonna be a happy person. That's the way it is. If you're a miserable MF, you're a miserable MF, no matter how great I am.
I just feel like I lost myself somewhere.
And here's the thing, it don't matter, because right now you're sitting on the couch finding yourself, right? And so what happened 10 seconds ago, there's nothing we could do about. What you're doing right now is showing up and doing the work and doing your best to do your best. And that, you can cry about what you lost, or you can pat yourself on the friggin' back right now for showing up and growing up. Really, for learning how to feel and learning how to be a woman who has these feelings and who's really into changing it. That's awesome. That's what we want to teach our daughters, man, right? Right. So you're becoming the person that you want to become, right? Listen, when we let go of our habits, when we look back at the I think I'm losing myself, we actually grieve. We give up an addiction. In treatment centers, we write a letter saying goodbye to the love of our life.
Oh my God.
It's the truth. It's the person I was happy with, the person that I was sad with, the person that I turned to, the person that I hated the most, the person that I loved the most. It's my addiction, man. My addiction
It was
was
always there for you.
24 by
Yeah,
7.
of course it
Yeah.
was.
And so when you're
Yeah.
letting go of a part of yourself, remember, transition's hard, even when we're transitioning for the better, right? And it's scary to let go of that part. It's scary. And you're going to walk through it and feel amazing. Susan, I don't know if you're listening, but my stepmom, she's so amazing, and she always says transition sucks, man, but it's so worth it when you get to the other side. And so that part of you that you feel like, I lost myself and I wasn't there, okay, and now you're going to let go of that. And there's going to be some grieving, even just from letting go of that, because there's some fear attached to it moving forward.
Okay, I'm going to just hold this for 2 seconds, because we'll keep talking after we sign off, but we do
Oh, we
have to
have to say
actually,
goodbye.
we actually have to sign off as well. So thank you all for joining us. We
Thank
meet
you.
again on Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock. We meet face to face here at the larger meeting. It's a different meeting on a Sunday, but I am so grateful that you joined us today, and I'm grateful to be in recovery. And my name is Haiti.
And I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery with you and with all of you guys. Peace out. Thank
Peace
you so
out.
much for showing up tonight.
Refreshing. I was going to tell you that. I was going to tell you.